Howdy folks, Joe Howard here. So a few updates for you this week. The WPMRR community built on Circle is still going strong. One quick note from last week, Artur Grabowski was on the podcast talking about all the stuff he is doing over at Extendify. He did an AMA in the community, and I'm looking at it right now. It's got 13 comments, some good questions, some of which were asked by yours truly. If you want to ask Arthur some questions, go ahead and join that AMA. Technically it's over now, but everything's pretty asynchronous in the community because that's how Circle does their community stuff. So comment and ask Arthur something about how he is building his company if you listen to his podcast episode and you still have questions. The WPMRR Virtual Summit is coming up. If you want to register for that, all you have to do is actually join the WPMRR community because we will be live streaming it in there. So it just takes a few seconds to join and you will automatically be registered. We've got a good amount of sponsors who have joined the summit this year. I'm talking about GoDaddy Pro, I'm talking about Blog Vault, I'm talking about Green Geeks, I'm talking about WP Engine. I'm also talking about Kinsta, Molly, Elementor, and Paid Memberships Pro. So a few great sponsors if you're interested in sponsoring. By the time this episode airs, we may have a legacy sponsorship left. I'm not sure if that'll be the case. We will most likely have some growth sponsorships available, as well as some sustainability. So feel free to check out the sponsors page and get in touch if you're interested in doing a sponsorship. Another quick update is I have done speaker outreach for that. So about half of the folks have gotten back to me with a thumbs up saying I'd be excited to give a cool talk. So that is going pretty well also. So I'm really excited about some of the folks who have confirmed for that. We're going to have a great number of sessions this year. All right, that is it for updates this week for WPMRR. Let's get into the episode. So I got to sit down today and chat with Maciek Palmowski. Now, Maciek is from Poland. He does a few things in the WordPress community, but the biggest thing I've known him for, and the thing he's chatted about most in the WPMR community, is running WP Owls. It's a newsletter in the WordPress space. Really cool to hear about, coming up on his 50th episode, some of the things he's done that have made it successful, some of the things that he doesn't like to do as much, some of the ways he's kind of leaning more on his technical background and a little less on his marketing background, and some strategies he's used because he's going to be more interested in the engineering side of things because he is a technical developer. Some strategies he's used to make sure that his newsletter always has a diverse point of view. So it's really cool talking with him about that. We also did chat a little bit at the end about he's a new dad, so we got to chat a little bit about what that's like and how that's going to affect his life and his work and all that moving forward. So, all right, without further ado, let's get into it. Please welcome Maciek Palmowski. Enjoy today's episode. All right, we are live this week with Maciek Palmowski. Maciek, and I asked you how to say your name before the episode, make sure I was getting it right. I think I got it pretty spot on. Why don't you tell folks a little bit about what you do with WordPress?
Hi, so now I am working as someone called WordPress ambassador at Bodyworks. So I'm trying to connect people from the WordPress world with the people who would like to try CI/CD. So this is also something new for me because for most of my life I was a developer, and now I'm working in something called developer relationships, or how is it called? So this is really something new for me, but it's really exciting because I have a lot of chances to talk with people, and I never knew that this is something that I really miss.
Totally. And I had the website open. It's just buddy.works. And the first thing it says just kind of on the homepage is like, get the fastest CI/CD ever. Why don't you tell folks what a CI/CD is? Because I had to do a little research to check it, make sure I knew my stuff there.
Yes, I mean, especially with the recent situation, I also saw that probably some people could think that CI/CD is something like COVID or something, a virus or whatever, but that's not true. CI/CD is a term that IT people just made so everyone doesn't understand what we are talking about, but that it's nothing more than deployment automation or just automation, because We are just people. We tend to make mistakes, especially when we repeat the same task over and over and over. And CI/CD is we should use CI/CD at this point when we are doing a lot of repetitive tasks, because we just try to automate them, because machines doesn't make mistakes. I mean, we can program them to make a mistake, but they shouldn't make a mistake just on their own. So thanks to this, everything goes in the background, and for example, our backups can go once a day. We can run some tasks before deploying our website, and so on and so on. So overall, it's just automation, but with a harder to understand name.
Yeah. And I was checking out that site, and I didn't even know that you worked at BuddyWorks, because I know you in a different role in the WordPress community, which other people may know as well. I think so. We've met before, and we've met. I don't think we've met in person. Maybe at
Of course, we met. We met in Berlin during the
WordCamp
tour.
Europe 2000. Which year was that?
It was 2019, right?
So the last WordCamp Europe.
Yeah, last WordCamp we met during the tour. What this guy was called?
Oh, the tour around the city.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm like remembering this right now. That's so funny.
Exactly. That was the first time, and I think this was the only time we met in person. Or
I think so. So yeah, quick side note: we went to. Yes, we met at WordCamp Europe on a walking tour that was set up for WordCampers. I think it was like the day before WordCamp, or maybe it was 2 days before WordCamp, and they took us around the city. It was this great tour. This is funny. So excellent. Have met in person. Have done some kind of chatter on Twitter and stuff. And I know you because you run the WP Owls newsletter. So you also do this newsletter in the WordPress space.
Yes, I do. And this is also a funny thing, because first of all, this was my wife's idea at the beginning. At some point, she was like, what you would say that we would share some news over Facebook about WordPress in the Polish community? And I was like, yeah, why not? To be honest, there is a chance I wasn't listening at full, but I agreed, because this is the thing we do with our wives. We agree because it's the safe way. So
yes.
I agree, and this is how the Polish version, it's called WordPressówka, which this is a funny wordplay, because it connects WordPress with sówka, which means little owl. So it's much better in Polish. We tried to thought of a better name in English, but WPOs was the best we could imagine. And we were running the Polish version for, if I remember, 100 numbers of 100 weeks. And then we decided, okay, let's go global. There is a worldwide community. Let's try. I mean, we did the research. We knew that there are a lot of great newsletters like WP Mail. There is WP Weekly, which is slightly older than WP Owls, but still it's a great newsletter. Birgit also has her Gutenberg Times, which is only about Gutenberg, but it's also great. And at the beginning, it was like, it's gonna be difficult. I mean, how can we just try to get some people to read our newsletter where they can read so many others? But now I think, which number is this? We're some 42nd is coming tomorrow, if I remember. So
Nice.
So yes, we are doing it, and the 15th number is quite soon. So
it's a good milestone to hit. You know, it's you never really know what something's going to be or something's going to turn into when you do the first iteration of it. You never know if you're going to want to change things or change the formatting or change the design or do something completely different. But I think making it to 50 newsletters is it's a good milestone to hit. It means you've kind of made it to this point of like, I think probably experimenting with it enough to get to the point of like, do I, want to continue this? Do I want to keep doing this? And yeah, and that's actually one of the things I did want to talk to you about today, running WP Owls alongside a few other, I mean, there are definitely a few other newsletters, WordPress newsletters out there. There are podcasts coming out that are more news shows than are like podcasts like this, like more interview specific shows. So like Post Status Excerpts has come out. That's more news related. I think
WP
there's
Minute.
a WP Minute is out. It's called. Yeah, Matt Medeiros I think does that. It's
Yes, exactly.
quick
And he really also does
news.
such a great job. Because let me be honest, I'm not a big fan of podcast overall. But he was one of those people that really made me start being interested in them. I started listening to them and even started doing one by myself. So
Yeah, it's funny how you have one person you follow or you enjoy listening to. It kind of spurs you to try something similar. So shout out to Matt Medeiros, awesome dude, and runs great audio, video stuff. And hey, Matt, you just motivated someone to start their own thing. So I think that's what we're all in it for. Is anyway. So yeah, tell me a little bit about like running a newsletter and I guess 40 something episodes or newsletters in. How has it been trying to get more subscribers, to do some marketing around the newsletter, to try and grow it as its own thing? Because it is on its own domain, just wpowls.co.
to be honest, I'm one of those people who really doesn't know a thing about marketing. So we just decided to do it like let's do our newsletter every week. Let's try to give our best, and people should sign up. And it's working. Really, it's working. We even thought about having some more, let's call it aggressive marketing in terms of people to sign up to our newsletter, but we decided no, we just don't want it. We want our site to be simple, to people sign up to our newsletter only when they want to, not because we attack them with few pop-ups and they just okay, it's the fifth pop-up, let me sign up. Just I don't want it anymore, really. So no, we didn't use any tactics like this. We just decided let's do quality work, and also at some point we decided to every second week we have a guest editor. This is something that is quite unique. But to be honest, we have seen it at another newsletter before, but it was only during the holidays, I think 2 years ago. Masters WP had on their newsletter they had during the during holidays they had some guest editors from time to time, and I thought this is a really terrific idea, but let's do it like all the time. And I remember that Master WP gave like the whole issue to the guest editor, and we just have a section. We ask our guest editor to provide us with an intro about about the topic he will or she will talk about, and 3 or 4 links with descriptions. And I think this is quite this format is working quite well. We had really interesting topics because we try to have not only developers, because me and Agnieszka, my wife, we are developers at heart, so it would be easier for us just to ask other developers, but then we would be like in a bubble. And so when we try to pick our news, we know that sometimes we tend to go more to the developer side more than others. And that's why we try to have guest editors from other topics. So, for example, we had Leslie, and she picked, if I remember, privacy. We had Francesca. She picked the best speeches from WordCamps. It was during the pandemic, so looking how conferences looked live was something really great, and so on and so on. So we try to have a lot of non-developer topics from the guest editors. Oh, and I remember Oana from Pixel Grade. She's a copywriter, and in my opinion, she did one of the best guest editor sections in our history. So, and I think that the guest editors are also the thing that really makes us unique, and I'm still surprised how easy it is to ask people from our community to be a guest editor, because this was the thing I was terrified at first. I mean, when I look at some people from WordPress community, I think about them as like rock stars. This is something I remember during WordCamp London when I had my first chance to meet Mike Little. I mean, he is a rock star, and I mean like this really big WordPress celebrity. And good that I had my wife with me, and she just pushed me a bit into Mike. So we started chatting, and yes, and this was like the first situation like this. And when I started inviting guests to WPOs, I thought about something like this, that because I knew that they are people, they are normal people, and it shouldn't be a problem. So, I mean, at first, inviting Francesca or Maciek from Yoast was a big thing, because we are just a small newsletter, and they are from Yoast, and this is almost the same case like with Mike, but they agreed, and I learned that. Again, I learned that our community is really wonderful, and inviting people isn't hard. I mean, I think only 2 or 3 people ever rejected our invite, and most of them were just, okay, I would be glad to be your guest editor. And when you see our list, we really had, like, let me call them again, celebrities in the WordPress world.
Yeah, I think it's funny when people start something new, it can be a little bit scary or intimidating to like reach out to someone who may be, somewhat established in the WordPress space, and maybe you think like maybe they don't have time to do this, or maybe they wouldn't want to do it. But I think this is like kind of like a trick for people starting out, is like if you reach out to 50 people who, and you have a nice personalized message to them, a lot of people are going to be willing to give you like 10 minutes of their time and to fill out a newsletter with a few articles. You're not asking for 5 hours of time, right? You're asking for a few minutes, put Google Doc together, maybe send it. Pretty straightforward. And, they get to be featured in the newsletter, and that's good for everybody. So I think that's kind of like a little, it's a little hack when you're getting started, is kind of just like, reach out to people and see what sticks. How are you doing your outreach to people? Were you kind of like finding email addresses, or were you kind of like shooting out quick direct messages in Slack groups, or were you like reaching out to people on Twitter?
It depends, but overall, first of all, we try to be organized. So we do a list. Once a few months, and then we try to reach people. I send them a Calendly link, so I don't have to worry about the order, who will fill which slot. And some of them agree, some not. And when the list is is ended, like the list ended, we think about other people, and that's all. We try to either ask via email. The official WordPress Slack is also a great place to ask. Twitter is also a terrific place. to ask people, because especially when we are already following each other. This was
Right.
something with Web Dev Studios, also a big company, and also I was a bit afraid, like asking them, because this is Web Dev Studios, right? And I was really surprised, because I could like almost pick anyone, whoever I wanted from the team,
Yeah.
and this was really amazing.
Totally.
Again,
Totally. I'll give you one more place to find people is the WPMRR Circle community. I found that it's been very cool seeing new people joining us in there, because just like you, I see you sign up and you come in and then you start posting around and wanting to start this new newsletter space in there. And now you're on the podcast, right? We like started talking there. So that's also a cool place to be able to not only find people who can, help to fill content, but to really meet new people and really meet people who could potentially be like good fits for that. I'm finding that it's easy to fill up podcast slots now for interviews, because it's like, oh, so many interesting people are joining and posting about such cool stuff. I got to have that person on the podcast to talk. So that might be a good place too. Okay. Newsletter. So newsletter, WP Owls, obviously a newsletter. You said you're not like a super marketing like focused person. I'd be interested to hear about like if you look at any of like the analytics behind sending emails, or if you have anything in place to try and, I don't know, like make improvements over time. Maybe you're just kind of sending out this newsletter and it's cool and you just enjoy it. And if that's the case, totally cool. Good on you. But I'm thinking like where I am with the WP MRR community, I'm like, how do I get feedback? Because I want to make it really good, but I can't, I need feedback to do that. I need to just kind of see how people are interacting. I need to provide like a, valuable place for people where they want to be, where they're like, I want to come back to this community repeatedly to be an active community member. I don't know if you've had anything you've tried over the past 40 something episodes of the newsletter where you've either checked out analytics to try and improve it, or you've maybe asked for some like feedback, replying to emails, or like a type form survey. I don't know.
First of all, of course, even if I am not a marketing person, I like numbers. So I really like to watch what is happening over our analytics. What I see is the numbers are growing. So this is a sign for me that I think people like our newsletter. We also know that our followers over Twitter are also growing. So this is another case that we know that that people like us, want to follow us. Over all the episodes we made, over all the issues, we made a lot of changes, because, like I mentioned, first we started just we were just posting a few news over Facebook. At some point, when we saw that people want to read us, we decided, okay, it's time to have our own website, and this was the version 1. What we have now it's the version 3. And version 4 is still underway, but with all the family stuff right now, it probably will take take a while. For example, we also learned that Polish community and world community are totally different, because, for example, one of our main sources of traffic when it comes to the Polish edition is Facebook. Polish people, for some reason, love Facebook. I don't know why. I really don't know what to do on Facebook. It's so like it's really not for me. There's only lots of clutter, and I really don't know what to do with it. But okay, So I know that Polish people really love Facebook, and on the second place, they really like LinkedIn. So when we started with the English version, we thought, okay, just let's do everything like we are doing now, but in English, it should work. No, it didn't. So what we learned, that our worldwide community just almost like doesn't use Facebook at all. Our reach over Facebook is like, it's let's be honest, it's kind of a joke.
It's good in Poland, but not the global audience.
Yes, exactly. I mean, our biggest traffic source for the worldwide community is Twitter. It's Twitter when in Poland we are growing a bit in terms of followers, but I think the Polish version has almost 2 years already, and we don't even have 200 followers. For some reason, and this is kind of funny because I thought that overall the IT world loves Twitter. Turns out, I know that historically we always, as Polish people, wanted to do something different. For example, almost the whole world uses Amazon, and we have our own. It's called Allegro, and we have a lot of histories like this. And it looks like when it comes to social media, it looks the same. I mean, we still love Facebook. The whole world went and started using Twitter, and we had to learn things like this. And for example, the guest editors, we know that our worldwide community really likes reading what guest editors say, and we know that those links are getting clicked. And the Polish community, not quite.
Interesting.
So,
I'd be interested to hear more about like your strategy around Twitter, or maybe I would like to hear like what your thoughts are around using Twitter alongside your newsletter to potentially like drive subscribers and give people some news and updates in both areas. Because I think there's some interesting like dynamics behind. I think like I have trouble like thinking about how a company like mine would do like more like pure sales, like services or product sales on Twitter. But like driving people to a newsletter sounds like the conversion would be better because you're still providing news. You're like, hey, here's some great news articles. Now here's a link to come and like get this in your inbox every week or something. That seems to make sense for me. So do you have like a scheduling strategy that you're using, or do you like tweet out and like tag the guest editor every week to make sure like they maybe can retweet and share with their audience? Anything? Is it like do you have like a pretty robust strategy there, or are you kind of like figuring it out along the way?
Because of, like I said, my big experience in terms of marketing, I don't have any robust strategy.
I think that's what most people do with Twitter. They're like, let's try some stuff and see what works.
Exactly. But to be honest, this is the thing I really love about Twitter, because I'm really not a fan of social media. I have problem with most of them. I mean, I really don't get LinkedIn, where, I don't know, it's like sharing your CV or something like this. I really don't understand it. On Facebook, there are only ads. So this is another thing I don't understand. And Twitter is really straightforward. I mean, you just have to try to accumulate your thoughts into those, how many it is? 160 words, letters, right? And that's all. There is no place for everything you can do on other social media. It's like pure and simple. Okay, now we have also fleets, which is something that is, in my opinion, a bit useless, but it works. It works. It's also a thing that we constantly use every time there is a new issue of WP Owls. We just publish a fleet and it works.
What is a fleet? I've heard of it, but
this is something like InstaStory. It's like InstaStory on Twitter, but it's like a poor edition.
Poor man's version.
Yes. I mean, really, I still don't understand why they added fleets. But if I remember 2 or 3 weeks earlier, LinkedIn also added their stories or whatever it is called. And I really don't understand why everyone decided we have to have stories. I even remember that Helen from 10up was sending a proposal to add stories into our WordPress admin panel, which we even started discussing how we could do it technically. And it is doable, but no, let's not go that way. So first of going back to our strategy. Yes, we try to uh, add everyone's nickname into the new issue. So yes, sometimes they follow us, sometimes they sign to our newsletter, and what's more, and sometimes they leave a comment or retweet, which we learned that it's the most important thing. And this works. This really works. So I think this is one of of the most important things. Next thing that we do, and what we learn at some point, because we weren't doing it from the beginning, because at the beginning we were just publishing once a week. We just published the new issue, and we waited for a whole week to publish another one, and that's all. At some point we realized that we should post something in between. So every time we pick top 3 news or top 2 news and the guest editor, and we publish them every second day. So like for almost the whole week, something is being published, and this really gave us first of all, the reach was much bigger, just because we just published more content. And on the other hand, there were just more opportunities for people to see us and maybe follow us, and this is working. So, and from what I see, WP Weekly at some point also adopted this strategy, if I remember, and it is really working. This is a really great practice, and I think that every newsletter should pick few best stories and try to publish them over and over again, because why not? Especially with all the algorithms behind all the social media, when we don't see the latest post, but the most interesting according to Twitter or Facebook or whatever we are using. So sometimes we have to repeat ourselves just to have a bigger chance that our audience will have even a chance to see us. Because following someone doesn't mean you will have a chance to see all their tweets.
Yeah. This is actually a really big motivating factor behind me wanting to start our own social group and community at WPMRR, because I felt like you post something on Twitter, like you don't even get to decide if your followers see it, or you post something on Facebook, even if someone like likes your page or someone likes you, like Facebook's going to be like, no, I'm going to serve them this ad instead. That's going to make us more money than them seeing something that they may want to see. So I like Circle because it has a lot of that same like functionality as like a Facebook would have with posts and likes and comments. Is not too complex, but it's like there's no ads, there's no algorithms. It's just like a place for people come in, and I can decide as the admin like how are we going to sort content here. Maybe some I'll sort, like the bigger areas I'll sort by most popular so people can see what's had like the most activity. I can also choose to sort just by newest. What's the newest thing to come up? Pretty simple and straightforward. And there's no algorithm behind it trying to tell people what to see, except I guess technically the popularity one is technically like an algorithm, but it's not like a algorithm to like change your thought on something. It's just like what's had the most activity, super straightforward and very transparent. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm kind of going back a little bit to you saying you don't like social media very much. I'm kind of self-admittedly like also I don't like social media very much, but I've recently started to do a little bit more on Twitter and in our WPMR community. So like those are the two I think that I think I can stomach those. I think that there's more value in the Circle community, which we have like really full control over, and Twitter, which has its own inherent kind of like the WordPress community on Twitter is pretty active. I have some issues with the WordPress community on Twitter, but for 99% of the time, they're great. So I think that that's something I'm happy to be a part of. Although I like posting and not really like being active and like checking all the time on it. Because if I check all the time, I'm going to be like stressed out, or I'm going to be like, did that person like my thing? I actually try to be a little bit like you on social media. I try not to follow the like data behind it, because it's just like, I want to post something. I think it's cool. I post a cool thread every day, like kind of about the work I'm doing in the community. And then I just kind of go away. And maybe I'll reply if someone replies to a tweet, but I'm not going to like, how many likes did I get? How many retweets I get? Who cares? I'm just like kind of posting for me, and I'll do it every day, and I'll do it because I want to do it, not because I feel like I need to get this like ultimate result.
The only time that I was looking at numbers on Twitter was just to see what is the correlation between likes, comments, and retweets, and to the fact to how many people sees this tweet. So that was when I learned that likes doesn't have such a big impact. Comments and retweets are the most important thing. So even having sometimes having a lot of likes but no comments or retweets will give you a much less reach, rather than like having 2 or 3 let's call it strong retweets from people with a lot of followers or something like this. So yes, but this was the only time that I cared about, and when I learned how it is working more or less, that was all, and I don't care anymore.
Yeah, I totally hear you on that. I want to talk also just a little bit about the website that is WP Owls, just wpowls.co. Is a cool site. I really dig it. I like the color theme. I like the design overall. I like that you have dark mode in the top right. I've seen a few websites with that, but you're one of the few is just wpowls.co. I went into the source code because I was going to go check like, what theme is it using? And WordPress Auka 2020. Well, I didn't know if that. Well, I didn't have time to like do any research. Is this a custom theme, or did you find a theme somewhere? Custom theme.
We always build our custom themes because this is exactly the same thing with you and Circle. We just want to have the full control over it.
Totally. You're technical, and you're a developer, so you're like, why wouldn't I? You know.
This was one thing, and the second thing was I decided to make this edition of WP Owls to be the fastest WP Owls ever. That's why it's static. I even removed jQuery because I didn't need it. I rewrote all the JavaScript to pure JS, and so on and so on. To be honest, at some point I went a bit paranoid, and I remember that my wife just threatened me that if I touch the code one more time for trying to gain some speed or whatever, she will like literally kill me. And
it is fast. It is fast. I got to give you that.
and especially when you think that I'm paying for my hosting like $7 per month for both of my sites. So so yes, this was also one thing that I wanted to achieve, to even just to prove to myself that this is possible, that we don't need an expensive hosting and to spend a lot of money, and we can create a static version of a website. Also thanks to Cloudflare, it's like all over the world, and it's equally fast everywhere. And really, the hosting is, I think this is really the cheapest hosting in Poland that has SSH access. So
yeah, wow. I mean, it's interesting to talk about, because a lot of people say the host is the most important part of the performance of a website, but it sounds like you have some fairly inexpensive hosting. I mean, $7 a month for 2 sites is very cheap. And then the things sound like you focused on are just having a solid CDN and Cloudflare, and then static delivery of the website. And those, I don't know, is there anything else on top of those 2 things, or you feel like those 2 things kind of got you what you wanted?
The most important thing is converting the website to static. This is because thanks to this, I have an HTML website. I don't even need PHP to serve it on production. And Cloudflare only makes it faster, and that's all. And I mean, I'm using the free tier from Cloudflare. It's enough.
Yeah.
I automated everything, so with just one click of a button, everything converts to static in the background. And for a long time, I was using a free tier at Bodyworks, where the whole automation took place. And this was also a really good part of the fact that they employed me. That now I have the pro tier of Bodyworks, so I can make it I could make it a bit more robust. But it's still, like I said, the only thing I was paying was the hosting and of course the domains, because this is something we just have to pay, sadly, because I don't like to spend money on on stuff like this.
I know some people who have like 100 domains or something. They're like
Yeah,
domain collectors, and I'm like, I mean, cool. If like that's what you want to do, is totally fine. But I feel like it would stress me out to have so many domains, and then like 100 times a year I have a renewal thing coming up, and I have to think for 10 minutes. Like, do I want to keep this domain? And it's like 10 minutes times 100 is like, no, I don't even want to take up that much time thinking about it. So
I mean, like,
fewer domains. For me.
everyone likes to collect some stuff. I, for example, like to collect games. So every time when I see that there is some sale on Steam, yes, sometimes I spend a lot of money, and and at some point there is this joke when we know when women try to pick their clothes from the closet, right? They're just standing in front of the closet and saying, "I don't have anything to wear." And this is me looking at my Steam account. I really don't know what to play. There's nothing here.
Yeah,
So,
I guess we probably all have something like that. We're a little bit obsessive over it. Cool. I do want to wrap up soon, but I want to talk a little bit about being a new dad in the WordPress space, in the WordPress community. So we were talking offline a little bit, and you've got a brand new baby at home, your first. How are you feeling? How's everything going?
to be honest, this is. I knew it will change. It would change my life, but I really didn't suspect to what degree. I mean, we are really happy that we have a chance to sleep. So we are not those like zombie parents,
great.
because when I discussed with some of our friends, and they were like, yeah, for about 2 months we were sleeping like, I don't know, 1 hour per day, and I was like, oh god. I know that sometimes I did some project like during the nights and I weren't sleeping for 2 or 3 days, but for a whole month I'm not sure I would survive this. But happily, our little Nicholas is a sleeper, so that's a good thing. We are still learning. But with some right organization, I'm still working from home. I got myself prepared and got myself an office for some emergencies, when if I just had to do some heavy work that I need like focus on 100%, and any distraction would be problematic. But at this point, I think I only use it twice, and once I had to just repaint it, and second to set everything up. So if even today, for some time, I was wondering, maybe I will go to my office and try it out. But in the end, I'm recording this from my home, because
Yeah.
it's possible. It just needs some organization and some understanding. Also, the cool part is that Bodyware, where I work, they are really flexible. A lot of people there also have kids, and they really understand that having a kid, and it won't be just possible to like work those 8 hours straight or something like this.
Right.
There will be, I be like, once I will be writing an email, and few minutes like later I will be just like going around with a kid, trying to make him sleep or something like this, and this is totally normal. And sometimes I will be doing both. Like I already tried it is possible to
Yeah.
it's like this, and here is the phone, and it is possible to to write an email like this. So everything is possible. I mean, we are also at this point where this kid has like only few things that it needs. I mean, it needs food and sleep and the part that happens after eating. So we all know. Yeah. Yes, but I also know that at some when he will grow, he will be probably more and more interested what is happening on this side of this black box that he sees most of the time from the second.
Yes.
Because even when I work, my wife and Nicholas are like behind my computer, so we are together. And even if he cries a bit, okay, it's happened. It's a kid. I mean, we know what we are signing in for.
Right.
Okay, let's be honest. I didn't suspect he will be so loud. But okay, so he's loud.
Yes, they learn. They find their lungs early. Maybe not all babies, but my son as well. He found those lungs quickly.
Yes, I mean, Mai learned that he can be loud as like very loud the second he was born, because I remember I was just waiting to see him, and it was like quiet, like only some quiet hospital noises, and at some point I heard this scream, and I knew that there was corridor, there was like two pair of doors between us, and I was like hearing this awful scream, and I was, oh god. So this is the little Nicholas, and then the first door opened and it was much louder. The second opened, it was oh my! And then he saw me and he stopped crying. So it was really nice.
Yeah. Are you nervous at all that it will be a challenge to be able to split your attention between family and new son and the work stuff you're doing? You mentioned the flexibility at work is good. You obviously have some pretty good flexibility in your work at WP Owls. You can kind of work on that whenever you want to. Anything that makes you nervous at all about being able to continue to do the things you want to professionally, or do you feel like you have pretty good balance moving forward?
I mean, I think I was preparing for this situation from many years, because few years ago I had my own agency, and I learned how it is to work too much, because having your own agency, you just this is something that you created, so you don't want to quit at any point. You want to just give like 110%, but you just can't do it all the time. And I learned how it feels to be burned out, and it wasn't a nice feeling. I tried working like a typical 8-hour job. Even I even once tried to work from the office, because most of my lives I worked remotely. I mean, even before it became so popular. But yeah, still I learned all those things, and I knew that I will really need some flexible job that will let me not only focus on the time I have to spend working, but that I can, like, the thing that I said, I can write an email and spend some time with my kid. And to be honest, I would really love to do it all the time, because I would really love, and I really want to be like an important part of his life, and not just a working dad that just goes out for like 8 to 10 hours and just comes back, and that's all.
Yeah, I think that's is hearing you feel not very stressed out about it is actually very eye-opening. I talk with a lot of people on this podcast and a lot of WordPress professionals and people who have kids, kids, family, a lot of other responsibilities. And the biggest thing that people say, or I feel like the biggest reason people are not too stressed out about, a kid coming in and taking up so much work attention is like, one, having a pretty flexible work schedule, being able to work when it's important to work. And it doesn't mean 9 to 5. It means whenever you feel like it's important to work. And the second part is preparing for it. So you kind of mentioned, like, you had an agency before, you knew what it was like to be burned out. You knew at some point you'd want to have a child, and you've been kind of maybe not like actively preparing for it, but mentally you said, like, I want to, I need to not be burned out. I need to be working better time, and to work towards that, over time is preparing for it. And I think those two things, like, they always strike me from people who like Joe Casabona, he's got, I'm not spoiling anything because he put it out on Twitter, but he's got another kid on the way, and man, he's just kind of cruising. Like, because he has total flexibility over his schedule, and he, obviously, like, prepared his professional life to be super flexible and to be able to do any of this. So exactly. I think that's a great place to wrap up for the day, and a great kind of lesson for folks, because I'm sure there are people listening who are thinking, hey, maybe I want to have a family in the future. These are things to start thinking about now. So Maciek, thanks so much for being on. It's been awesome to catch up. 2 things before we totally wrap up for the day. First is I always ask if you could just tell folks where they can find your stuff online, WP Owls, BuddyWorks, any social media. Maybe you're not super active, but maybe they want to find you somewhere.
So first of all, you can find me over Twitter, and the best way to find me is just find the WP Owls, and with this you will also be able to find my personal profile. And when it comes to social media, this is the only place when I am really active. Apart from that, like I mentioned, I'm working at BuddyWorks. So if you would like to automate some of your stuff, this is a really great place to start. And I think these are the only places you can find me, like, being active. Because when I'm not behind the computer, I'm on my bike, so I don't have time to check the social media or things like this. I just prefer to see what's happening around me.
Totally. And Maciek is very humble, but he's also a big contributor in the WP MRR community. So you can also find him in there. Cool. Last but not least, I ask our guests to ask our listeners for a little Apple Podcast review. So if you wouldn't mind asking folks listening to give us a little review, I'd appreciate it.
Like I said before, for a long time, I had quite a problem listening overall to podcasts, because I was always more of a radio person when there was music and people talking. So this was the mix. But at some point I started listening to podcasts, and I really like. I really like. First of all, like I mentioned, I started with all the Matt's podcast, but at some point I started also listening to yours, and I just really like it. I really like the informal tone of them. Just like now, we were talking about kids and IT. This isn't the most typical topic, and but this is what I really like, finding those informal things about people, not only things that we know about them, because I share a lot of stuff about, for example, all my engineer stuff or related to body, related to WPOs, but I don't share too much stuff about being a father, because I think this is, for example, this is a part in terms of social media where when I will be kind of always private, but we talk about it here, and I really like it, and I hope that some people will learn something from this, and And this is the thing I really like from about your podcast, finding such things like this.
Cool. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. If people are leaving a review for the podcast, just wpmrr.com/review redirects you right there if you are on an Apple device or a Mac. If you are a new listener to the show, we've got 150-ish older episodes, wpmrr.com/podcast. We got a little search bar there. You can search for something you're having a challenge with, or sort by new, see what our newest episodes are. Go and binge some older episodes of the show. If you like listening to us here on the WPMRR podcast and you want to get more involved, we have launched a community on Circle. If you want to not just hear about how you can improve, monthly recurring revenue and make your business a little better, you can actually get involved and we can all do it together. It's just at community.wpmrr.com. Virtual Summit is coming up in September. The good news is all you have to do is join the WPMRR community and you're automatically registered for the summit. WPMRR.com has a bunch of details about Summit. We've got speaker announcements coming soon. Sponsor announcements are going live right now. A lot of cool stuff happening. Brian and I are working hard to make this an awesome event. So go check out some of the updates there and register at community.wpmrr.com. That is it for this week on the WPMRR podcast. We will be in your earbuds again next Tuesday. Maciek, thanks again for being on, man. It's been real.
Thank you very much. See you later.
Bye, everybody.